What's going on, friends? Logan Myerz here for Cinephellas.com. Tonight I'm going to be talking about one of my favorite shows of the year. It's been a long time since this show has had a really solid season, and I'm talking about American Horror Story 1984. So I'm a huge fan, as you guys all know, of slasher movies, especially the 80s, music, fashion, pop culture, everything. It just worked for me. I wish I could go back in time and, live in that era and see all the movies and music and all that good stuff. But this time around, Ryan Murphy paid homage to one of his favorite eras growing up in the 80s with the whole slasher theme this season in 1984. The setup, if you guys haven't seen, I did the first episode. I did a review of that. So the setup of the season, it takes place at Camp Redwood in California. We have a group of camp counselors hanging out at the camp, getting into trouble, drugs, sex, all that good stuff. Mr. Jingles shows up and starts killing people off, like cutting off their ears, and it sets up the rest of the season. One of my favorites, Billy Lord, playing Montana. We had Cody Fern that played Xavier this season. He had like all the great fashion. He had the 80s hair, kind of reminded me of like Corey Haim back in the day, like the frosted tips and things like that. And they're really big into aerobics and like everything you could imagine back in the 80s. And Mr. Jingles is played by the great actor John Carroll Lynch. He's been a few seasons of American Horror Story. He was in Fargo, a bunch of great stuff. He's a really fantastic actor, so he's playing this demented psychopath killer that's on the hunt to kill any camp counselor that gets in his way. But there's a lot of twists along the way. And we have Leslie Grossman playing Margaret Booth. She's like the head of the camp. She's the one that brings it back to life after the original slayings that took place back in the 70s. She came across the killer back then when she was going to this camp. So years later, she has money and she puts it back into this camp, rejuvenating it, bringing kids back, and of course, the slaughtering begins. And also in this season, they bring back Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker, which is a huge serial killer back in the 80s. But the Night Stalker was a big deal. It was a big serial killer. Everybody was scared to death back then. This guy was creeping around the corner in LA. They didn't know where he was. Possessed by Satan. He was like a Satan worshiper, and that was his whole ordeal. And essentially killed a lot of people. So they brought him into this season. He was also in American Horror Story Hotel, but it was played by a different actor. This time around, he was really great. Him and Mr. Jingles' character kind of teamed up throughout the season, and then they had a bit of a falling out as well. I want to say one of the coolest parts of the season is they're throwing this big festival. They're bringing a bunch of like 80s bands, Billy Idol and Kajagoogoo, to shush, hush, hush, I do why. But the band show up to play this festival, and things don't turn out as planned as you can imagine, and it's just a huge slaughtering. All these like famous 80s characters they just kill off. It was so awesome, and Richard Ramirez was like super excited about it because he's like a huge Billy Idol fan. Sets up a lot of great scenes of just like the entire band just being killed, and they're just all laying around, blood everywhere. And this season is not shy on the gore. There's a ton of gore and blood in this season, and I absolutely love that aspect. Over the top kills and just blood and gore everywhere, and I absolutely love that about this season. With American Horror Story 1984, there's a lot of twists and turns. A lot of things happen to the characters that I didn't expect. Majority of the counselors, what happens to them, and them kind of being stuck in limbo at this camp, not being able to escape even though they were killed. You see their characters change throughout over the years because they fast forward to like 2019 at the end of the season. A lot of the counselors that are dead are stuck in Camp Redwood. And like in the middle of the season, it lost its fizzle. It felt like the story didn't know where it was going, and the writers are kind of just throwing shit in there, but it rejuvenated itself towards the end. The middle, like most seasons of American Horror Story, kind of start losing that momentum. But I didn't give up in the season, and there's only a few episodes that were kind of not great, but it really picked up towards the end. And there's like basically the story that's happening at the beginning of the 70s, 80s, and then fast forward to the present. And Margaret Booth's character kind of cashing in on the idea of places you can go visit where murders happen, famous murders, LA, all over the world, that are, maybe haunted and things like that. She made a ton of money off of this, and she's an evil, evil woman. So Leslie Grossman played Margaret Booth, and I thought she played such a villainous woman throughout the entire season. She was really great in this role. I love her as an actress. I'm really looking forward to seeing what she does in the future as well, but I thought her as a villain in this season was really great. And there's a lot of tragedy, there's a lot of murder in this season, as you can imagine, American Horror Story. Ryan Murphy likes to get pretty evil with his stories, and a lot of the seasons, and a lot of killings, and a lot of bad things happening to good people. And that's the case here with American Horror Story. A lot of young teenagers or young college kids that are counselors. Doesn't end well for them, and then they're eventually stuck in this place forever. And there's a really great arc with Mr. Jingle's character. We find out more information, his backstory. He may not be as evil. And they show in the season his life after, him trying to escape and live a normal life. And he seemed really happy, had a great thing going. But something about Camp Redwood always brings people back, so Mr. Jingle's character does end up making it back there years later, and as you can imagine, does not end well. But my favorite part of this season is the ending, titled The Final Girl. It was a really great send-off for this character, really great story, and it felt a little emotional at the end, that I felt attached to this season and to these characters, which I haven't felt for American Horror Story in a long time, probably since the first 2 seasons. And that's just really great storytelling. But the ending was fantastic. They fast forward in time. We see there's 2 final girls, not just one final girl. Brooke's older and the other lady's older. Mr. Jingle's kid shows up, and Whitrock plays his character. He shows up obviously older, looking for his father, seeing what happened to his dad. And he comes across a lot of the ghosts, the camp counselors in this place, and he avoids death because of the counselors. The ghosts are kind of looking out for him. They need him to get out of there because they know what would happen if he ends up dying. He'll be stuck there forever. Finn Whitrock did a really great job with this character. He was only in 1 episode, but I thought he was very convincing as the son. He's very torn. He's very emotional. He's hurt. He lost his father when he was a baby, has never met him, never seen him. He eventually finds his father and sees what's going on in the place, and it's pure evil in a place you don't want to be at, so he has to hightail it out of there. But one of the best shots of the episode is at the very end of his father, his uncle, which was a kid back then, and then his grandmother, all standing there at the entrance to Camp Redwood as he's walking away. And a really great shot and very emotional. Again, I love how they did this, how they ended this season. It was really well done. Another scene with Finn Whitrock's character and Billy Lord playing Montana, kind of looking out for him. You can see her character changed a lot in this season. She has this really great conversation with Mr. Jingle's son. It really makes sense in 2019 because we're cashing in on nostalgia, from Stranger Things to them making remakes of movies from the 80s, sequels for movies from the 80s. We're really cashing in because it was one of the greatest times for music and movies, and there's no original ideas anymore. It seems like in Hollywood, so they're cashing in on that. So I love that scene with Montana's character saying the 80s will never die, and you see all the counselors still stuck in all their 80s gear in 2019. So it was really fantastic shot, really great ending, really great season. I was surprised how good the season was. This is definitely my 3rd favorite season of American Horror Story. I've seen all of them. I love the first 2, and then American Horror Story 1984 will be my 3rd favorite. In 1984, they got rid of all the famous main actors that have been in the series throughout. They got rid of Evan Peters, Sarah Paulson, and Jessica Lange, and that did something different, and it really worked. Overall, I thought these characters, a fresh take, and using the 80s as a backdrop. Really great nods and Easter eggs and paying homage to the 1980s music and fashion, and more importantly, the slasher genre. Friday the 13th, Halloween, Sleepaway Camp, just a ton of movies. Really built a really creepy atmosphere too, with the score and the set design of them being out in this camp, dark at night, and somebody lurking in the woods. Introducing this new icon, Mr. Jingles, played by John Carroll Lynch. I thought he did a great job. He had a beautiful arc in this season as well, and seeing what happens to his character at the end. And introducing Finn Whitrock in the final episode titled The Final Girl, which was really fantastic. But overall, I had an absolute blast with American Horror Story 1984. Ryan Murphy does not disappoint. Actually does a few seasons, but he brought something very special. And this season, they brought my favorite intro to American Horror Story, all synth wave and all shots of the 80s, people working out. And I just love that. I love the music. And then the whole intro is really fantastic. Supposedly, they're only doing 1 more season, but we'll see. But hopefully, they keep this momentum going and continue to make great seasons, because this is definitely one of my favorites. And overall, I'm going to give American Horror Story 1984 a 4 out of 5 Billy Idol hair pieces. I want to hear from you guys. What did you guys think of the brand new season of American Horror Story? What did you like about it? What didn't you like about it? What did you guys think of that ending? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to hit subscribe. This is Logan Myerz signing out from Camp Redwood. Mr. Jingles, you out there, boys? Until the next video review. Cheers!